Hey, Jar 200 Summer 2020. What's up? Today is the 29th of May 2020, and I thought I'd give you a day's break. Okay. Um, you guys are up to the challenge. Remember that we have three assignments that were on track this week, three assignments that were due, and we'll go over that. And I also want to remind you to just calendar everything and be aware of what's coming down the pike or coming down the pipeline or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we do have this coming up. Okay, so that's a little over a week, about a week and a half away is your first writing assignment. If you click on that, it just kind of gives you again a heads up of what you need to do. This YouTube right here, it goes through everything that you need to understand about it. All right, so it's the one I did for last semester. It works fine this semester. Um, this takes you to each of the links where you're going to gather your data. And just remember, when you're doing the data gathering, you just got to follow the directions. And the directions are laid out very clearly up here, okay, in terms of what we want you to do, all right? So you're going to create graphs where you have three countries, the world, and the US. You see that right there, okay? You're going to create graphs, three countries, the world, and US, and you're going to do it for these 1, 2, 3 different categories, okay? So you can have three graphs in total with multiple lines reflecting what we said right here, three countries, the US and the world, all right? And that's how we set up our rubric, okay? Did you get the right ones? Did you access the right databases? And then you do a little bit of analysis, okay? And so yeah, so the rubric's all laid out there for you, okay? And one thing that may not be in there, I don't know how to do this in an Apple, but I can certainly show you how to do this in using a PC in Microsoft. When you make I show you how to get the graphs through the World Bank website, but also you can just use just your natural Windows feature where you do the Windows icon. That's the very bottom of your keyboard. It's the very left-hand side. Looks like a window, and then you hit that, and you go Shift S, and you see this pops up right here. Okay, this is telling you right here that it's going to, wherever your cursor is, it's going to make a box. So I can make, for example, I don't want to have the verbiage down here, so I'll just maybe do the table. And I just kind of glide my cursor like so. It highlights what you're going to be gathering, and then you just release, boom, okay, and then what happens is I can go into, for example, here, and I was just practicing right there, but I hit paste, there it is, and then I can size it however I want. You can put that into your Word document, wherever you want. All right, so there, that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's how that works. All right, so let's go ahead now and go over the assignments. Okay, so this is for you, for those of you, and there's always new people coming into the course. So that's why I always say for those of you that are new to the course, don't forget there's a bunch of how-to um, kind of training sessions down here in terms of using the discussion board, how to navigate the course. I already did that, and this is also in my playlist in YouTube. All right, we're just going to go right in here. Okay, so so we did assignment 1 and assignment 2, and we're going to go into assignment 3. When I say assignments, what is embedded in each of these, we click right here. All right, so that was assignment 1. That's where I put my video right there. There's always a little bit of training going on. Okay, this was the reading. Again, this was a great overview talking about globally what's going on. And which countries are worse off than others. In terms of this kind of shifting demographic of the age. And then the stuff that becomes a problem, we see here, the growing burden of non-communicable disease, which became really highlighted during this COVID-19 pandemic, because people that have diabetes, people that have vascular disease, people that have renal or kidney disease are super high risk for fatality from this thing, okay? And it's because of just chronic inflammation. Doesn't mean young people can't get it. In fact, I was just looking at an article earlier today about this inflammatory disease hitting young kids. So got to be safe. All right. When you have these growing numbers, what does society do? It's real hard right now for you guys to make it. So what's happening in this family structure? We talk about this. People are having less kids, and that means there's fewer people to care for the growing older people that have a lot more needs We heard about this term called dependency, okay? And little kids are dependent, and old people are dependent on the wage earners. We talk about that in there, and we get into the economic issues, and this is right up your guys' wheelhouse. All right, so then there was a quiz, and then this particular discussion right there. Okay, so it's the same drill. So you can get back either by just clicking on here, or you can actually go back and you can click up here, and either way it gets you to where you want to go, which is back to the menu of weekly assignments. Okay. Alrighty. So we're going to go launch right into the Pew Center. These are think tanks it's a U.S. think tank looking at U.S. issues. Okay. What we do in this course, the way it's set up, is we pose problems. We kind of guide you a little bit with our text right here that we wrote up into it. We want you to be curious, so we have you go into the website. Sometimes the website can have problems. URLs go south, so we always have a backup of the PDF file. So if for some reason you can't get in here, you can always go to the PDF file. All right, and that's true right here. Here's the URL. Here's the PDF file. Okay. Alrighty. So let's talk about generations. Why do we talk about generations? Because we need to make kind of predictions at the level of the government, society, at the level of individuals. People are getting older. Okay, what does that do in terms of at the very end we're going to look at discussions and housing prices and stuff like that. And how economics are driving the housing prices, and in how you guys as Gen Zers going to figure this out. And yeah, how do we come up with Gen Zers? We have to define generations, because we then have to make kind of anticipatory changes. Okay, so we were projecting into the future. When I was a little kid, there was a ton of us. I was at the very end of the baby boomers. There were no schools, so they had to build schools to house us all. Okay, and then as we rifled through the system, the university system was not prepared in terms of housing us. So they built the Cal State system, they built the University of California system to handle all these people going to college. And then it was really competitive to get a job, because there were so many of us, really difficult, and on and on and on. Housing, purchasing housing, it was not easy. Okay. So yes, these are all, and now we're dealing with the other side as we get older, healthcare. So we are consumers, the major consumers of healthcare, because we have these chronic diseases of aging, and then because we're a moral society, we're going to care for our elders. You're going to care for your grandparents. So that burden placed on you, that burden placed on local communities and the federal government of caring for people as they get older, right? So this is why it's important to study all these numbers. So this one right here is just kind of a fun article. Okay, it's short, to the point, and we had to define you guys, Gen Z, and so they actually had think tanks way back. So this was an article that was written in 2019, so a little over a year ago, and grappling with what are we going to call you guys? Okay. And for a while there was rumblings of iGen and post millennials, and then Gen Z became the winner. Okay, and that's what this is all about. And then you go in there and you start looking at each generation, what defines them. Okay, and it's based on when you were born. My parents were over here. Me, born in '56. If I'd had kids in a timely fashion, which I didn't. Okay, because your co-instructor Julie and I, we were married how long? 11 and a half years, almost 12 before we had kids. Not married, together, and then we were married 8.5, almost 9 years before we had our first child. So we dated, so to speak, for 4.5 years, then we got married, and we waited a while. We waited 8.5 years. So and so I don't have any Gen X kids. It's the way it works out. It was our plan, not that it was the plan. It was just our plan. Okay, and so I do have a son. Okay, who is what is it? He's 24 and a half. Okay, he's a millennial. Okay, graduated from USC, going to grad school, worked for a while. It's a tough market out there. There's a lot of millennials. It's a tough job market. Okay. And then there's you guys, Gen Zers. And so what defines all of us? Okay. And then that you can project about that. Not only what defines you, but what's going to happen, later on. Okay. So we talk all about it in this article, technology. Me, it was TV. My oldest son, it was computers, computer games. And then you guys came in at a time when suddenly we had smartphones, man, and that became all the rage. And that's why, as us, the older people use Facebook. Okay, you guys use Instagram, Snapchat, and all the other things that are more mobile oriented. Okay, these kind of things define you. This pandemic is going to define you in terms of the college experience and in terms of jobs and things like that. All right, so pretty cool article. That's what that's all about. All right. Okay, so then we scroll down here and we look at the different generations, and that's what this particular website's all about. It's cool and interactive. We have the backup right here of the PDF file. Okay, but it's really fun to get in there and kind of look at some of these trends right here. So look right in here. Alrighty, and we look at and this is actually the previous article. I kind of went ahead of myself. Okay, but what's happening, okay, in terms of your housing and things like that. Well, we see there's this increase in multi-generational homes. Okay, it's harder to live on your own, and that's what we're seeing here as a function of time. It dipped down for a while, and then up it came. Okay, so yeah, I graduated in '74, and I was out of there. I didn't look in my taillights. Okay, but people are having to live in multi-generation homes. Marriage rates are going down. Okay, you guys don't get married. All right, that's just the way it goes. It's just like a sociological trend. Immigration trends. They talk about that right there. Where are the largest number of immigrants? And then we have the politicizing of immigration and refugees, and that's what this is all about right here. It's a big deal right now. So and then what makes up the international rivals? And just think about how that's been impacted by this disease. Okay, so having a pandemic impacts international rivals. I have a bunch of students, my friends, that were, and that was our country was trying to get in the best minds so that we can move ourselves ahead economically. What it is, especially if our fertility rate's going down. So a lot of our best minds were at USC. They'd come here from other countries. One of them was a friend of mine from Italy, friends from India. They went home during the pandemic. They can't get back. Okay, so that's a big deal right now. All right, it's a cool article to think about in that way. All right, so now let's go into this last article where we're going to actually compare trends in individual amongst the generations. And it's a real fun interactive website. Okay. All right, so we see, for example, right here. Okay, so we're looking right here, and there's some verbiage that you can read for sure. I love playing with toys, and so this right here is this interactive website. And we don't have you guys up here right now. Okay, so we have the Gen Xers, we have the Millennials. We do not have the Gen Zers. Okay, it will be coming. All right. So it's all a matter of when this thing was put together. All right. So we're looking at race and ethnicity right here. So that's what this means. So we're going to go down each one of these different selections in this toolkit right here. But you can see that, prior generations, myself, there was, more immigration. And so we became a lot more of a melting pot. And especially in your older brothers and sisters, your parents, okay? And there's going to be even more so for you. Okay, so let's look at marital status. Okay, alrighty. So, and you look at the categories: who's married, who's separated or divorced, okay, who's widowed, and who's never been married. Okay, so like I said, people don't get married right now. It's kind of a trip. Okay, and you guys are going to probably even be balanced even more so for not being married. Okay. Obviously, the older you are, the more likely you are to be widowed. Okay, and we see that there's a lot more widows in right here. Okay, all right. So what else do we have? So this is widowed, and widowed. Okay, all right, widowed. Right. Let me get my colors down right here. That one right. This is widowed. This is widowed. Thank you. Okay, all right. Separated or divorced. Okay, So you see there's fewer people married here than here because of the death. More widowing here, fewer married. More married, less widowed right there. Okay. But we see what's happening here is the never been married category is creeping upward. So that's a big deal. Male education, okay, pretty set. Hasn't changed that much. Okay. Let's look at female education. All right, that's changed a lot. All right. So a lot more women are getting bachelor degrees or beyond. A lot more women have college under their belt. Labor force, okay, all right. Obviously, when you're this age, you hopefully are retired. You're not in the labor force, okay. Boomers, we're getting into that, 50-50 range, okay. Gen Xers, this is prime working time as the millennials, okay. How about the female? All right, let's look at those numbers and look at the transitions there. All right. So, a lot more women are working. All right, okay. So, yes. All right, household incomes. Okay. We can see that in terms of the amount of money that you're earning, you're not going to have a lot of assets in terms of earned income, but you can have a lot of money in terms of the value of your home and hopefully the value of your investments. I'm having some allergies right now. Veteran staff, and we see how this changes right here. Sorry. All right, and that is a big deal. Oh God, I'm going to sneeze. Metro status. Okay, this is whether or not you're going to live out in rural areas or living out inside urban centers like cities of Los Angeles and New York City. All right, not that big of a change, but a little bit more of a shift towards urban. And this happened a long time ago, where people were leaving the farms to live in different in urban centers and cities. Okay, and then we see the population numbers. Okay, so the millennials are projected to be taking over the population as sadly people age out and die here. All righty, cool. All right, so and this just goes over this comparatively instead of interactively. All right, so we see men and women, millennial through silent generation, in terms of education. And of course, education has gone up more so in women, right? Which I think is awesome. Okay. Here's the definition of generations that we went over. Okay. And then just the trends. Okay. All right. That we just saw. So it's a really, really cool article. All righty. So let's look at some impacts here. So you should have opened your quiz. Okay. And been answering some of these issues. Then we get into, I think, something that is particularly relevant to you guys, and that's housing affordability and what's happened. Okay. So here's some resources just to think about. This is the Washington Post article. It's pretty sobering, okay, in terms of the share of American real estate owned by each generation. Okay. And we look at the median age cohort. Okay. So going from 1990 through 2019. Okay, so yeah, I bought my first condominium in 1989, so I'm right here. Okay, and we see that even still, only 50% home ownership. Okay, we see that the Gen Xers are lagging behind, and there's a decreasing trend, and sadly, the millennials are being priced out. Okay, and that's because there's so much value, especially in places like Southern California in terms of the cost of housing. The house that I bought in 1998, right here, I bought for $435,000. Okay, this is the recession of 2007, 2008. But the house I bought for 435 is now worth 1.5 million. Right, so, and that's what you guys are up against. So I want you guys to think about this and discuss this. Okay, and how housing eats up the affordability of living. Okay, so this is what we get into right here. Okay, it's a real cool website. I want you guys to use this for other classes for your life projecting forward. This is a website put together by in Harvard, and it's looking at poverty and the cost of living and how much of your income is devoted toward just rent or paying a mortgage or whatever. So we're going to go into that in a second. And then down here, it talks about this, okay, and the burden that has happened in terms of households, and you look over here, it's showing it again graphically, renters, owners of mortgage, and you see more and more of your income is being devoted towards paying for housing, okay, all right, and that's in retirees, okay, and then this looks at the number of older people projected to live alone, all right, which is a huge issue. All right, so let's go into this Harvard website, and I'll just show you what I mean about it being pretty nifty. And I want you guys to know the whole point is you go in and you comment on based on the prompts that we've written down. So you go into this right here, okay, so explore the map. All right, so it's looking at different ages, and it defines it how so it's a cost burden or severely cost burden. A cost burden is where you're paying in terms of the cost of your housing more than 30% of your income. Severely is more than 50% of your income is devoted to the cost of housing, right? So this is when we look at the map right here and see it's a lot more expensive to live right here in the coastal communities, Florida, New York City. That's where people want to live, so it drives housing up. You see the greatest burden, this is all households. If we go over here, the greatest burden is renters in terms of this burden share that we define down here. So man, you guys get sucker punched in terms of the rent. Owners, if you've gotten in early, it's better off. Okay. You see, over here, this is 65 and over. So you imagine that's a real problem being a renter and being 65 and older, and how much of a burden it is because you're no longer making money potentially. All right. You see over here, again, this is all households in this still working, maybe thinking about retirement age. Okay. Again, the burden is on the renters. Okay, compared to the owners. Okay, all righty. So pretty nifty site. Okay, all right. So let's go back to the other one. All right, right here by clicking there. Okay, and then you can scroll down here and check this out. And this is again another interactive chart, and it's called income disparity. So we always talk about the top, 10% of income earners and what they're making, okay, versus the bottom 10%. Imagine being the bottom 10% of our world making $14,000 a year versus $200,000 a year, right? And it's all kind of done in these different quartiles, okay. We can look here at this, okay, versus this, all right. You see the scale is different. So 50, 64-year-olds are have more money at their disposal, still likely in the workforce. These are the mostly retired out people. You can watch over here how the income has dropped, and there's again a select few that have a reasonable income, and everybody else is kind of haves and have-nots. All right. So it is, a big part of reality. All right, guys. So what I want you to do then is to consider all of this, okay, and then get in here and deal with it in terms of your response to the prompt in this discussion. All right, guys. So I think I have finally gotten to the point where I say I am done here, and we'll see you next week for the next 2 assignments.